Hey, what's up, everybody? You've got Brent Bowers, aka Johnny Brento, here for a really add-on discussion to Strebo's excellent video, Tips for Designing Great Posters with MVP. I thought I might have an interesting perspective to share, being the other half of the poster design team, generally all kinds of marketing stuff, really banners. I thought I would start off by telling you a little bit about myself and my background in design. I've been a professional designer for right at 15 years, making my living with visual design, either through website design or marketing design. And I've come to learn a great many things about creating projects such as posters and banners, and actually posters being one of my very favorite things to produce, because they're usually huge projects that are fun, and you do get to have some very real collaboration. Now, you hear Strebo mentioned a lot a design created by myself and Brent Bowers, and I thought I would get a little bit into what that actually means. I approach working with Mutantville just like working with a client at work. So, for example, I never try to just create what I think is going to be the absolute greatest design and just hand that off to them thinking, hey, well, for example, the banner. This is the first concept based on the feedback, or the input that I had at that time. We want mutantville.com and the tagline, and then some elements from various projects. Now, that's very little feedback. There's not a lot there. So what I like to do is create kind of a service level agreement, or at least some sort of understanding that your input has to come up front before a ton of work, and clearly anything like a giant banner is going to be a ton of work. You're talking, just for something like this, this probably represented about 10 to 12 hours of work. Jump on over to something like Tales from Scarecrow at Midnight, or Scarecrow at Midnight poster, which I'll go ahead and say is I've probably done about 40 plus posters in my career, and this is the most impressive, by a long shot. It just has so many things going on. You can't do this sort of thing overnight. This is, off and on, weeks and weeks and weeks of work. I personally had about 30 hours into this Scarecrow design, but I digress. How do you best work with a partner on a design project? Well, in the case of Scarecrow at Midnight, Strebo was the director, so of course he would have the final say on what his character is, how he's portrayed on the poster, and he actually, for that particular project, he was here in the room with me quite a bit. Making suggestions. How do you create something like this? I mean, well, you start off with a photograph, and what does the practical work look like? Making something, just a normal photograph look like this with all the grunge and the kind of grindhouse aesthetic that we put on there. I can give you a little idea. That's what we started off with, and what you're talking about for the actual getting it prepared as an element to go into Photoshop. It's something just like this. You come in here at high resolution. You take what's called the Bezier tool and you start making points. Now, if that looks tedious, it's because it is. Eventually, I would encompass this entire piece of Scarecrow from this image that I wanted to use, and I would cut him away from the background so that we could start changing the transfer modes and creating that semi-transparent see-through mode. Now just look at all the curves and stuff on that. And that's a lot of work right there, just pulling that character out. But I digress. We won't be doing that today because we've already done it, which is why you see some of the same elements popping up in different poster or attempts, beginning versions of early posters. Like, for example, we use a similar element in the banner, although not the same one. As Strebo pointed out, I did try to pull that one in at first and see if we could use it, but just take a look at some of the levels of layers in here. I mean, there's just tons and tons of stuff, different kinds of text, different things that we tried. Here's an interesting one. so the scythe connects with the letter. And at one point I thought, wouldn't it be cool if there was a splat of blood there? I realized really quickly that that was going to obscure make the contrast less and therefore make it harder to read. We didn't want to do that, but check out some of the detail here. Look at that right there. If you zoom right in there, we've got some characters, secondary characters that just pop up in the film, just hidden on our poster. The little scary face right here. That's kind of a tribute to Trick or Treat, little Sam from Trick or Treat. There's various vignettes from the movie playing out all over the poster. So the idea was you could just have a lot to look at if you had this hanging on your wall. Really, really proud of this one. And this was a great collaboration between Strabo and myself. We really spent a lot of time. And like I said, for that project, he actually was here probably a third of the time in the room with me. Since that time, we've kind of refined how we work together on projects like this because gas has gone up so much, and Strabo lives about 30 minutes from myself. So we generally try to use Skype as much as possible, and that's the way we did this project. You know, starting out with what you saw as the beginning, when, you know, and then going through various stages of I would try things, and you know, he would give an opinion on it. Obviously, he mentioned he didn't like the Sweet Vicious being so close in size to Scarecrow, but like all these little images hidden in here, it's just to make it more interesting to look at. And considering this is going to be actually printed out at 6 feet wide, I thought there'd be a lot of hey, there's actually Strabo as the stuntman version of Gibson from our Lost film, C for Chaos. And here's Flamin' Fagin, melting face there, not that you can see it. Some of it's not really intended to be fully visible, like our little The Man with No Name and JR from Zombie Hunter. You know, a lot of it's just to amuse myself, to be honest with you, but it's fun. It's fun stuff. But yeah, that's basically the way we do it, you know. And I think anytime that you want to, if you're working for yourself, it's one thing, because all you have to do really is, you know, create something that you think looks good. But if you're working with a partner, you need to come up with a service level agreement, i.e., what do I need from you up front, what kind of impact, all the parameters for your poster that you want to have, and what do you expect from me as far as timeline to deliver the final graphics. I think generally if you follow those guidelines and go along with some of the things that Strebo mentioned earlier, you'll be on the path to a great collaboration with someone to come up and create your own Scarecrow at Midnight poster, or something that looks almost as good, because clearly it won't look this good. Anytime that you want to get inspired for poster design, just go out to Google and type in classic horror movie poster. You're going to find a ton of resources and examples that you can look at to get an idea for your own design. And now, when we first began creating posters together, Strebo and I weren't nearly as efficient. So don't expect you know, the perfect collaboration the first time you sort of learn how to work with people. And it's the same way in the professional design field. You know, you have client managers that you kind of get accustomed to working with, and some folks are great to work with right off. Other folks are like pulling teeth to work with. They typically don't give you the input that they say they will or agree to in your service level agreement, and then any opportunity they'll shuck off their job on you and expect you to sort of go out and round up the feedback you need and that sort of thing. I wouldn't imagine in any project that would be the case, because probably usually in most cases it's going to be the director himself actually doing this work. So, you know, make yourself happy in that case. But I thought I might share some of the examples and just give you an idea of the kind of iterations that a potential poster might go through here at Mutantville. I would say we're a little better in this regard right now. Here's just some variations of the Ghost poster that we just went through crazy numbers of iterations and just experimenting with concepts. We still didn't have our tagline down, but it's one of those fun kind of works. This is actually really close to probably what the final poster will be. Well, at least many of the elements, certainly the photograph. That's definitely the photograph that's going to be used. And, you know, on that note, you can make your work as far as poster design a whole lot easier if, when you have all the actors on the set, you actually get photos with a poster in mind. You know, obviously a poster is kind of like a landscape flipped on its side sometimes, or you know, just a straight up, you know, portrait style, longer than it is wide, much longer than it is wide. You know, in general, poster dimensions that I typically work at for creating our posters that I know we're going to print are those right there. You see, it's about 23 inches wide by about 31 inches tall. The higher the resolution for print, the better. But you know, if you're okay at 72 pixels per square inch, which really is a lower resolution, but your imagery, if you get too high with your resolutions, you'll have a hard time getting images that are big enough to fill up that space. You'll have to have a bunch of images, or you'll have to fake it somehow. I'll show you just a few more of our finished posters that we've gone through over the years. There's the Devil Comes Down. Really happy with that one, and you of course notice this element was repeated in some of the early attempts because it's just so much work to create something like this. We had Strebo in the other room taking pictures of his hands in various claw positions, and then I had to do a lot of processing to make them look like shadows, and in some cases I've used Poser to create zombie hands and things of that nature. Photoshop brushes to create the impression of a graveyard and all the smoke and whatnot. I was real happy with the way this one turned out. It looked fantastic at Nevermore, well, not Nevermore, sorry, the Carolina Theater when we showed it up there to open up George A. Romero's, was it Diary of the Dead? One of his films. Streber, I could tell you. And just, you see that element repeated here. There's various attempts before we really nailed down what our tagline would be and how we would market it, being a ghost picture, you know. But really, you want to focus on your main characters a lot more. And some of the things wrong with this design is secondary characters were larger than the main character. This one's really the tightest. Central character. This is another one I really liked. If you look at it, there's actually a lot there. After you see the film, it will make more sense to you. But I really go for this grunge look that I've kind of put on here. I try to do that with a lot of, it's great to blend elements together. Try to do that with a lot of posters. Here's a vanity poster that I created for our friend Matthew Ewald. Matthew came into the project really after we had completed the project and had contacted us and expressed an interest in being involved. And I'll tell you, you don't pass up a Matthew Ewald when he offers to come work on your project. So we wrote this character in, and ironically, this character became a huge part of the actual film. It was intended to just give a glimpse into the backstory of the main protagonist, but in fact, this was a recurring motif, which you know gave you flashes of insight into the character until the very end. It just comes right out, and boom! Now you know why this particular character is haunting that particular location. So not him, but anyway, I can't go into that. I have to. If I tell you, I have to kill you. Really happy with this, but I'm told this hangs on Matthew Ewald's living room wall, or his poster area where he has posters of projects that he's worked in. That's not the final rendition of it. It's just a version. But yeah, that's the granddaddy right there. That's the big boy. That's the one I'm most proud of. And I mean, we have a ton of stuff on this poster. Wow. Mentioning photographs earlier, you always want to start with a photo that really lends itself to the dimensions of a poster, and then also you have to keep in mind that you have tons of stuff that you have to put all over a poster to put your credits and your marketing tagline, and really make it appeal to folks and try to make them want to see your film. This is one of the rejects, but I do think it's a fine poster that we took of Matthew on the set of our Civil War medic bay, if you will. It was really one of my top choices for trying to make a poster out of, but ultimately it did not have enough contrast in this area. And working in Photoshop, you know, I decided to go a different way with his vanity poster I created, you know, really as a one-off just for him, as a thank you for his commitment to our project and coming down and taking part. But I do love that photograph. So yeah, I mean, I think a lot of good opportunity to create your own marketing, and if you need help, you can always contact good old Mutantville Productions, and for a nominal fee, Uncle Strebo and Johnny Brento will make you one of these awesome posters. This is a poster I have in oversight. It's from the very first Mutantville project, The Zombie Hunter, you can see my design skills were not quite up to where they are now back then. But it does have Uncle Strebo and myself. And I actually had that made in super large size just so I would never forget the genesis of Mutantville Productions, and it's hanging on our theater wall. You might have noticed if you've been there for a screening. It's actually super large, like double-sized poster, so it's in a glass frame. It's very cool. There's various posters I've designed for events. It's not all monsters and blood and mayhem. You know, there's practical uses for posters, for marketing posters, and just some of the ones I designed in my professional life. There's a little... we weren't allowed to use any characters from the Wizard of Oz for this, but this one particular e-commerce leader really loved it and wanted something reminiscent of it, and so we just got some ruby slippers, a little cheap costume, put the scowl on these. It's actually regular brick there, just made those gold, and that one actually looks great, full size. Here's our vanity poster for the GB character from Ghost, which is actually seen in the film at a book signing that the character's doing. It really came out great. Had fun with that one. I believe we gave that to Mr. Dave Tunick for his contribution, and so hopefully he has that proudly displayed on his war trophy wall as well. Just various things there. But yeah, I think that's about it. I enjoy this topic. I love posters. Who doesn't love posters? Of course, you may know from my channel that I collect horror movie posters, and I have quite a few rare ones. I run out of space though, really. I almost hate having such rare posters when there's nowhere to display them. Fortunately, I've got a big house, and displaying them properly takes money. So they're coming online here and there. So I try to have a different array of posters for our various screenings that we do down there in my theater. But yeah, I think this is a great little article from Strebo. A lot of learning here. So get out there and start making your posters, because it's really a lot of fun, and people really do appreciate it. And from an indie perspective, there's really nothing to make someone want to buy your DVD, you know, at a convention or a get together better than a fantastically designed poster. So I encourage all of you that are filmmakers to use that tool. How do you get a poster created? Well, Uncle Strebo mentioned our banner, which of course it was created at Vistaprint, but for posters I would recommend you to Zazzle.com for one-off posters. Now, you're not going to make a profit. This isn't a place to really try to mass produce, but if you need a poster quick, you can go to Office Max and get questionable quality for the same price. You can get online, upload your image to Zazzle, and very reasonable prices, $25 to $30 shipped in a poster tube to you. And I have yet to have a bad poster. I've probably purchased 15 or so posters from them over the years. I've had a fantastic experience with Zazzle, so I recommend them to you. You basically just upload your images, and then you can either use their tools to put the writing on, although I recommend doing all that in Photoshop, so you have absolute control. And then you just pick the size that you want the product in. You can also put it on t-shirts here, a variety. Of course, why would you do that though when you got T-Shirt Joe out there at fastcustomtshirts.com? Greatest horror t-shirt resource there is. But yeah, mugs, things of this nature, it's all there on Zazzle, so be sure to check Zazzle, that's Zazzle.com, out if you're looking to have your poster made. And that's it for me. I think I went on a little bit longer than I planned to here, but see you guys next time on Johnny Brento's Juju, and keep swinging away, Merle.
Buy our stuff now, mutant.